Good evening, everybody. It's Friday night, my friends, and I'm back. We're going to be jumping back on in to some coding tonight, as we tend to do on the Friday nights here. Second, while I bring things up. This goes down there. And this goes up there like that. Okay. Cache. Alright, here we go. Welcome on in, everybody. Welcome. I hope everyone is doing well. Hope you've all had a good week and kicked butt, took names, and got things done and enjoyed life along the way, I hope. All right. So, our big thing now. Sorry, I was just looking at something here. So our big thing now is we're still continuing to try to get Chapter 8 done. And I had left myself a note that we had stopped off at... what did we... We stopped off at Model Cache, I believe. Yeah, really Vulcan model. So start model cache changes. So that would be this, right? Models cache. Which, yeah, for me would be Vulcan model for some of this stuff. So... because we did load models, because where we left off. And then I just have to add some stuff here, I think, in the indices, buffers, and stuff. We got the record transfer command. Yeah, I think I called this Vulcan model. Yeah, so we want to... we just want to make sure that the create vertex and index buffers are the same here. So indices, indices, okay. Still on int. Buffer size, source buffer, Vulcan buffer, source host visible, host coherent, destination buffer is usage destination, transfer destination bit, next buffer bit, property device, local bit, okay. Mapping that, data put indices, source buffer unmap, and then transfer buffer there, okay. And then the vertex buffers. We got positions and texture coordinates. Texture coordinates is null or blank is 0. That's the thing there. Hey, Tech, welcome on in. Just hanging around, being lazy tonight, watching it snow more and more. Yeah, it's been a cold one. We were supposed to get some snow showers, but nothing really significant. And I don't even think we got that. We might have gotten like a little bit, but nothing. Not enough to land. Not enough to lay on the ground. So, but yeah, it's been pretty darn cold. It was I think 29 today, which is way too early for us to be that cold. But yeah, should be printing, just not yet. Gotta go. Yeah, I mean, just sometimes it's just nice to just relax. You know what I mean? 3 to 5 inches tonight, and 3 to 10 more tomorrow, and more on Sunday. Jeez Louise. Yeah, I am glad that we're surrounded by mountains that take most of that punishment. I mean, we still get hit from, with nor'easters and stuff like that, but that's really the only way we can get hit is something coming up the coast, essentially. The mountains tend to break everything else up. But yeah, it's I'm not looking forward to it feels like this is going to be a colder winter than it feels like it's going to be one of those winters where we just get like a ton of snow in short time periods, and then you just clean up after one, and then you get hit by the next one. You already got 14 inches from the first storm. Jeez. Yeah. No, I don't really like the cold. I don't like the cold. I don't like the snow. Honestly. Because you can't, like, my problem with the cold is you can never really truly get out of the cold. You can sit by a fire, but there's still going to be a cold chill somewhere in the house. Whereas at least with the heat and with the air conditioner, you can get a respite from it. But yeah, it's a thing. Like I said, I hope we don't get too much this year. I mean, we got hardly anything last year. I think we had one major snowstorm, and it gave us maybe 5 inches, which was kind of nothing for us. It was enough that I had to shovel the driveway, but not enough to really be all that annoying. I think we did get like a few dustings, like 2 inches here and 2 inches there, but like at that point, there's no point in even like what I usually do then is I might do just a short, not a full shovel, but just kind of like a short push the snow around a little bit and get some of the driveway to be exposed, and then after you get the driveway exposed to the sun, it takes care of it usually. My only problem is I have a shared driveway with the neighbor, and I really wish I had my own driveway. and just for the wintertime, because it's like in the wintertime I'd be like, you know what, I hardly need to go anywhere, and I've got a pickup truck with 4-wheel drive, so if I had my druthers, I wouldn't shovel at all. But because it's a shared driveway, I feel obligated to at least do half of it for them. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Lots of snow. My house gets warmer as the snow gets deeper. Lots of snow around the place that keeps the cold away. Lets me turn down heating. I mean, yeah, it does work as a good insulating thing. It's the days of having your whole house covered in a few feet of snow. Just heat with wood and get it covered. Just electric heat. Snow blanket works and makes it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hear that. I have most of my house is brick, except for the back half, the extension that I'm in right now. That's all wood frame, but most of it's brick, and so the added problem with brick is that it seems like it retains whatever the outside temperature is for quite some time. So like in the summertime, the bricks heat up and it makes the inside hotter, which is not great. And in the wintertime, it cools down and it feels like it's constantly dumping cold air into the house, even though, it's, even though you got the heat on and stuff. So like that part of the house, which I don't spend that much time in that part of the house anyway, tends to be a constant draft. But yeah, it's a thing. I'm just glad it's not. I've probably mentioned this before, but I passes the temperature inwards for a longer time. Yeah, exactly. Which is nice, like in the fall and in the spring. That's really nice because, or in the spring, I guess. Yeah, kind of nice then too, because it's like in the spring it's still cool. So even if we get like a hot weather, I don't necessarily have to turn anything on right away because the bricks are still cold. So that kind of acts like an air conditioner. And in the fall, it acts like a heater for a little while. So even when it's starting to get cold outside, I don't have to turn the heat on quite as early. So it's nice in that regard. But yeah, I'm just glad I don't get the kind of stuff that they get like up in Buffalo, New York and stuff. Because I've probably told the story where I went up to Syracuse for work, consulting stuff, and I always got the winter the winter jobs, right? I always had to go up there in the wintertime. It was either Syracuse or Albany. I have to go up there, and I think I was in Albany, this one, and it was just absolutely bitter cold, and they were showing on the TV people up in Buffalo, where there was literally a guy shoveling snow off the roof of his house. You couldn't even tell it was the roof of his house. Like it was all you could see was the top of his shovel, top of his shovel as he's throwing snow behind him. You couldn't even tell that his house was there, and that was the roof. It was insane. But yeah. Oh, Run Until You Fly! Thanks for the raid. I appreciate it. With the viewer. Welcome on in, everybody. Just doing some just chilling and doing some game coding. Welcome in. But dead summer, it just feels so much hotter, and dead winter can make it way colder. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the real issue too. And then on top of that, I had the option when I bought the house. I had the option of getting. I needed to get new shingles on the roof. Like it was necessary. And the guy's like, "Do you want dark shingles or you want light shingles?" I thought, well, I'll get the dark shingles because at the time it was like September. I was like, I could probably use the dark shingles. It'll help with, keeping the house warm in the wintertime. Well, yeah, that's great in the wintertime. But in the summertime, it's terrible. And I was like, in retrospect, I should have gotten the light shingles because in the summer it's worse with the heat than it is. You know, in the wintertime you can kind of deal with it, but in the summertime it's just ugh. Your lady was golfing and working on the site. Nice. Um, we had ladders and tunnels. We even had to extend our chimney taller. We got to apply fresh air so we didn't have any issues. Ah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, your parents had a picture of you standing on top of a power pole. Was that deep and stuff? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So run until you fly. Just a question. Is there a preferred spot where someone could report errors with the site? Do you prefer Discord? Is there a channel in Discord or something? Because I haven't really looked too deeply at the Discord. I say that because it appears to me there's a bugs and glitches channel or Discord. Yes. Okay. Cool. I might put something there, but it appears to me like I had in Firefox. I had the and bearing in mind I'm on Linux here. I had the tab open for the creator dashboard for several days, and you just open to the creator dashboard page, and it wasn't in the background, but it wasn't the active tab. So Firefox still had it like active, but it didn't background it, you know, to try to save memory or anything. And I happened to notice that you know, there was like something like 70 gigs or something of memory being used up on my computer. I'm like, what is going on here? And I look on Firefox, and that page alone, that creator dashboard page, after being open for several days, was taking like 63 gigs of memory. And I tested it out again today. So I if I background the tab, if I force Firefox to background the tab, it'll free up all the memory. So it's not a big deal. But I looked at it today. I opened the tab up today, and I let it run for about 10 hours or so without interacting with it or anything, and it was already up to 1 gig of memory. I took a memory snapshot, but I didn't really see anything in there. Like, it didn't seem like it was holding on to anything. So I don't know. I'll try to get some better diagnostics for you before I put anything up there, but just kind of a heads up that I think something's being retained in memory on there. So they must be loading the comments tab in the back end all the time, so each new one takes up more and more. Yeah, there were definitely errors. Like, there was about 73 errors over time that it accumulated, where it was during the day, like losing connection to various things and WebSockets and stuff like that. I didn't really get a very good picture of what was going on. I right before I went live, I remembered I had it open, and I took a look at it real fast, but I didn't really dig into it too much. So just kind of a heads up. That's something I happen to notice. I assume it's just kind of. I saw that you're using Next.js in there and stuff, so it might be something that Next.js is doing. Also, by the way, React and Next.js just had a security alert around remote code execution problems, so you might want to make sure you're not susceptible to that too. I do know one day last week it was hitting real highs from a front end update that went out accidentally, where the back end wasn't there and it was trying to call it on repeat. But yeah, okay, sure, cool, all right, that makes sense. It's just something I happen to notice, and it's only like, again, it's Firefox and it's Linux, so it could be any combination of those things. doing it. I haven't had the tab open in Chrome, but I suspect Chrome is a little bit more aggressive in backgrounding tabs, you know, like kicking them out of memory. So I don't know if it'll do the same thing there. I can test that and take a look and see. Just something I happen to run across. No biggie, all things considered. So there we go. But yeah, I had the when you go into just a thing here, when you go into Firefox, let me see if I can do a new window. When you go into Firefox, you can do about processes, and that was what was telling me that it was taking up a ton of memory. Right now, all I have open is the pop-out tab, and that seems to be fine. Like it's just 108 megs. It is going, it's kind of going up a little bit, you know, but it was more like a watched pot kind of thing. So. All right, so what am I looking at? I'm looking at the cache. Where was that? Where was that at? Model cache. Here it is. Now, did they change anything with? I don't see anything there. Okay. Create vertex buffers. I did see the one about the Next.js issue. I've got your Threadripper running Debian and Cinnamon Dev PC, your M3 Max MacBook Pro, and then your i9 Windows PC. So I do get tested site across systems locally. Oh, nice. I've learned I really don't like Nest, but here we are, and at this point, I'm not sure if I were to attempt to maintain our existing database to rebuild it. Yeah, I am not a very I'm not a big fan of React or Next.js or any of that stuff. I don't like to do, like I'm old school in that I like to keep it as close to just HTML as possible. In other words, I like to make the server do more of the work because I can scale out the server, in theory. So any client-side JavaScript that I generally do is just for like very simple UI sugar. You know, it's nothing. There's no model view controller in the UI. There's none of that stuff. It's all on the server side. And then what I tend to do is just have the server generate all the HTML that's needed, and then have the browser just worry about HTML, CSS kind of stuff. We've been using at work. God, what is the name of that? It's it has left my brain. We use a little bit of jQuery, but we've also been using HTMX. That's the name of it. I've been using that a little bit, and HTMX is a little bit nicer when it comes to like WebSockets and all that stuff. It kind of handles a lot of the stuff for you, and then it still forces you to do all the generation of HTML and stuff on the server side, and it pulls it down. But yeah, it is what it is. There's two different schools of thought on it, and I tend to be the older school of thought, which is browsers are really good at HTML, and they're still not very good at JavaScript. despite all the strides that we've made and all the improvements that have been made, they're still not that great at JavaScript. You know, and also by putting a lot of stuff on the client, and some things you can't avoid. I mean, that's just, you know, audiovisual stuff. I mean, you can't avoid JavaScript. You need a little bit of it there. But the more you push on the client, the less control you have really over the performance of the site, right? Because now you're running on whatever hardware the viewers are, you know, the users of the site are using, and they could be on the most potato of potato setups, right? But if you're just pushing HTML and stuff down, even if it's just fragments, HTML fragments and stuff, you know, it tends to fare a little bit better. But again, it puts more work on the server, which is not cheap either. Oh. Anyway. All right. Let's see what we got here. We've considered the rebuild under a different stack. We keep the Postgres database. OME still runs the media server's Redis WebSocket for emission and chat, but I definitely want to keep the functionality and features that people are loving. But everything as it is here does feel like a firefight, even though it is stunning. Oh yeah, no. Agreed. I mean, you've made a tremendous amount of features and stuff, more than I've seen of any streaming site that's just starting up. I mean, you've got an activity feed already, which half of them didn't have. You've got, you know, the chat, obviously. You've got integrations going. You know, a whole bunch of stuff. You've got raids already. You've got collab stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. That's a hell of a lot in such a short time. So my hat is off to you for that, because that's a lot of stuff to do. And naturally it's going to be, you know, and you've got 3 different like integrations. I mean, you've got the RTMP coming in, you've got the WIP stuff, the WebRTC stuff, and you've got the SRT stuff, which I have not seen anyone yet offer all 3 of those. 2 of them, but not all 3 of them. And the 2 took them a while to do. So that's great. I mean, there's like, that's a huge undertaking alone. So yeah, no, it's all the kudos in the world for that, because that's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. You know? I mean, I bellyache over just like a tiny bit of CSS. Takes me 8 hours to do a tiny bit of CSS, and you're knocking out an entire site in that time frame. So what do they have here? Texture coordinates. Coordinates length. Float size. Source buffer. All this is the same. Most visible bit. Coherent vertex buffer. Device local. Alright. Those positions. Okay. Transfer buffer. Cool. not like we could handle more on our end. We have 5 ingest and 5 edge boxes. An API has its box, database its box, front end its box, and minor load balancer in front of it. Redis is on its own box. The lab is being built out on its own box. VOD worker for VOD to YouTube system has its own processing box. Yep. No, I mean that's good. That's a lot of stuff. I mean that's a lot of stuff to put in. Storage buckets, 20 plus or storage buckets. Yeah. I mean that's a lot of stuff to spin up and maintain. Definitely. I do appreciate that you didn't make the mistake of trying to display VODs on the site. I think that's a mistake that a lot of I've seen a lot of the startups do. I think having that integration with YouTube, where it's just like, look, you want somebody to watch your VOD, send them over to your YouTube channel, is the best thing ever, because that's where it should be, because that's where it's going to get the most traction. So I think that's probably the single best decision, like, that a lot of people get wrong at the very beginning, because they're like, oh well, we'll just host the VODs here, and then we gotta make them searchable, and make people be able to see them and all this stuff. It's like, no, you're a live streaming site. Cater to live streaming. If you want to post clips, fine, like short clips, great. But VODs and stuff, like, having that integration with YouTube where you just push them straight to YouTube is the best thing ever, right? Because that's where they're going to get the views, is over on YouTube, where people are expecting pre-recorded content. So you've already got a bunch of you've got a bunch of things correct from the start. Because I've been around the block, I've seen a lot of these different sites, and they all tend to fall into the same. The same. They all tend to repeat the same mistakes. So it's refreshing to see one that isn't repeating a lot of those mistakes. So I have the bind models here. Vertex buffer. Yeah, staging buffer, vertex buffer, index buffer. Is that all I needed then? Index buffer, yeah, vertex and index buffer. So I didn't add anything here, right? I'm looking at the right. No, I'm not. I'm looking at chapter 7. Well, that's not going to work. That's not going to work at all. Wait. Why is there... Chapter 8. Here we go. Like, this seems weird that there's no changes here. That was completely accidental too. I know someone who knows someone who got me in a conference call with YouTube devs. We've had a back and forth. Suppose I have a call early next week to finish wiring up the update around and do media changes. Made me sign an agreement that I wouldn't start a dedicated video service to compete with their main product. Now I've got a couple insider YouTube devs that chat things out with me. Oh, there you go. That's fantastic. You know what? You found a human being at YouTube. Like, that's like finding a unicorn in a giant haystack. A unicorn in a forest. I don't know. Like, that's crazy. That's the impressive part. Not that there are developers, that they're just a human. Yeah, exactly. I mean, just finding a human at all at YouTube was like just extraordinary. And then to find a developer on top of that was just like, holy crap. How do you find, like, it's like finding a unicorn that crafts gold bars. I don't even know. I don't even know at that point. You got your regular unicorns, and then you got your gold bar crafted unicorns. uh, sometimes I crack myself up. Oh man. But yeah. Oh, all right. Create vertex buffers. Do anything else here? Values to read. Oh god. What are they doing? Oh, they're reading it from. Where are they reading this from? Vertex inputs. Oh no. No. You're actually reading a data input stream? Oh. You're kidding me. You're freaking kidding me here. Because they wrote all... So, in this chapter, they write all of the... Yeah. They write all of the... They load up a model file, and then they pull all the data out of it, all the vertexes, all the indexes, and then they write it to a JSON file, which I guess makes some kind of sense somewhere. But then they're now, oh my god, they're loading up that file, the index file and the vertex file, which they wrote two separate files for some reason, and they're going to pass that data input stream directly into here and then read directly from that. You're kidding me. Values to read. You are kidding me. How's this called? Index input, data input stream, buffered input stream, file input stream. Oh, excuse me. Oh. Well, why? So wait a minute. Model data. Next path, file input stream. Buffer image data input stream. But how are you going to read that if it's JSON? Because they're just reading it in like it's just data input stream. Because they're reading it in like it's a... Like it's just a series of ints. Am I... Wait a minute. Where's their index file at? No, that's not it. Book samples. Chapter 8. What does their index file look like? Huh. It's binary. So they write JSON out. Cube.vertex is... Oh, so they're just serializing. Why? So they're just serializing the vertexes and the indexes out to a file, and then they're just reading that serialized file back in. Why? Aren't they all in here? Vertex, index size. No, it just has vertex and index path. So they're writing separate. They're writing separate files. This makes no sense. Like, you're already writing data out into a JSON file. Why wouldn't you also write the vertexes and the indexes out into the same JSON file? They're just integers. Like, the vertexes are just integers, right? Or the indexes are just integers. And the vertexes are just integers. So, like, why would you write them to separate files? Serialized files at that. So you have to read them in. Okay. I'm not doing that. That's for damn sure. Hey, Wukong, welcome. How are you doing? Yeah, so we're definitely not doing that. I'm going to continue to take in arrays. Because ultimately that's all they're doing is they're reading that in directly into an int buffer, which, if I'm not mistaken, is what we're doing here. Right? Yes. Yeah, I'm just putting those right into the int buffer, which... Okay. What am I doing? I am trying to learn how to write a game engine. And right now I'm going through, there's a book online that I'm looking at for doing Vulkan stuff, Vulkan driver stuff, and I'm trying to follow what they're doing and make sense out of it to try to learn how this works, and how to do it, how to make a game engine, just for the sake of learning, not for any other purpose. I mean, eventually I'll make a game probably, but right now I'm more enthralled by the actual coding of an engine. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at the top bar here is the examples in the book, and I'm looking over their stuff, and I'm trying to make sense of it and write it, but rewrite it in a way that I want it to be, while still having it work. So, am I doing well? It seems complicated. I'm up to chapter 8, so I'm not doing half bad. This chapter, if I run their example code here, gives you a textured cube to rotate. So, if I get that working, then we're in a really good spot. But like, I'm still very, very, very early on. Like, there's nothing. That's all it would do is just load up a 3D model and rotate it. But you know, gotta start somewhere. But that's their code. So I just have to. I'm trying to make all the changes necessary to my code to get it to do the same thing, pretty much. How long have I been using Java? I've been I've been coding in Java for 23 years, roughly. Not counting the 1 year in college. So about 23 years professionally. Um, I don't do game dev though. I do full stack web development. So basically the plumbing behind websites and all that stuff. Um, so this is definitely way outside my normal wheelhouse. But yeah, I've been doing it for a while. And I kind of decided to do this in Java just because I know Java well enough that I don't have to, I'm not necessarily struggling to learn or relearn a language while also trying to learn how to write an engine. So this way I can kind of focus on the engine concepts themselves and not be completely out of left field when I'm trying to work with the actual code and stuff. So yeah. On a learning path, I don't know how else to improve as a Java developer. What would you recommend? There comes a point where you get stuck. It depends. The best thing I can say, and this is not just Java. This would be pretty much any language. Is learning the language itself and learning the language basics is important for a foundation. But once you've got that foundation, the more important thing is learning the libraries, because every language you're going to work with is going to have a bunch of libraries, not just the standard libraries that come with it, but also third-party libraries, community, open source libraries, and all that stuff. So for Java, for me, the key was, since I was doing web full stack, Spring was a big one. Like, I needed to learn Spring and how Spring works, because everybody and their grandmother in the web development world uses Spring at some point if they're using Java. So learning that, and that's big. Like, there's entire books on it. It's a giant monster of many different modules and everything else. But learning how to make basic controllers, model view controller stuff, basic controllers, a basic website, stuff like that. Spring Boot probably is. I don't like Spring Boot myself, but it is the thing you'll find the most documentation on. And then there's other libraries that we use a lot of, like you've heard of Apache, the Apache Commons. So Apache Commons is a bunch of libraries, Commons like string utils and all that stuff. It's a lot of like little utility things, like to parse strings and to help with arrays and stuff. A lot of it is kind of obsoleted now, because a lot of that stuff you can do in the base Java JVM stuff, but there's still quite a few utilities in there that are very helpful. For instance, I use a lot of string utils. So string utils dot is blank or is not blank is really nice, because it'll check automatically if the string you pass it is null. It'll do the null check automatically for you. And you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to do an extra check for it. And also checks for empty string and all that stuff. So it's nice stuff like that helps. The other thing is not even language based. It's more programmer tools. So like, the more you learn about an IDE, like say IntelliJ is the most popular one. Even Eclipse will help you a little bit. the better off you'll be. The more comfortable you get with an IDE, the better off you are. If you're still using Notepad++ or something like that, I would recommend really looking at an IDE, not because it's better or superior to a Notepad or a Vim or anything like that, but more because there are a lot of integrated tools in there that will just make your life much more pleasant, especially the debugging tools and all that stuff. The refactoring tools, debugging, things like that. And then there's just source control, like learn GitHub. If you know how to do GitHub, or Git, I should say, even if you don't want to use GitHub, if you want to use GitLab or something like that, whatever, learn Git. Learn how to do pushes and pulls, merges, rebasing, all that stuff. Because when I graduated college, they didn't teach me any of that. They didn't teach me how to use source control. They didn't teach me how to use an IDE. I had to pick all that stuff up on the fly at my first job. And if you can get ahead on all that stuff, you'll be able to hit the ground running a lot better, a lot faster. Just stuff like that. I would highly caution you. A lot of people will say you have to learn how to work with LLMs and AI, and I would highly caution you against doing that early in your career. If you're still early, you're still learning, and you don't have a whole lot of experience, I would not touch it with a 20-foot pole. You might be forced to touch it with a 20-foot pole, but I would avoid it as much as possible, because what I'm finding with the current crop of AI, you really need experience under your belts in order to properly utilize it. A good example, I just ran into this today. I asked AI to I have to do an integration with a third party, and they're using GraphQL, and I've never used GraphQL before, so I'm learning how to use the Spring GraphQL integration stuff. And I'm having AI kind of help me learn it, because Spring in its usual fashion documents the happiest of happy paths and nothing else. And so in my case, the third party I'm trying to integrate with, normally in a GraphQL situation, all the errors would come back in a GraphQL format. But there is one error that I need to catch, which is unauthorized, HTTP 401 unauthorized, which is not in the normal, it's not being brought back in a normal fashion. And so I was kind of asking AI, like, hey, I want to capture this unauthorized, and I want to go do a re-auth, do a retry on it. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll do that for you. And it produced some code. And I looked at it, and it was catching like a particular exception. I think it was like web client exception or something like that. And I was looking at it, and I was like, let me look a little bit deeper at this. And I noticed that was coming from Spring Webflux, which is a whole other ball of wax from what I was using, which I was using the REST client that comes with Spring. And I'm like, that doesn't seem correct. So I told the AI, I was like, this exception you're capturing is part of Spring Webflux. I'm using Spring REST client. Are you sure that this exception is thrown by the REST client? And it comes back and goes, oh, you're absolutely correct. It's not thrown by the REST client. Let me change that for you. It's like, oh God, you're killing me here. You're just absolutely killing me. And the worst part of that is, had I not had the experience to look at that and go, this doesn't look right, I may not have caught that until it went out to production, right? Like, it's just, because it's an exceptional case. It's not a normal case, right? And so that's why I say, like, the current crop of AI, you really, really got to be on your toes. You really can't trust anything it sends your way, no matter how correct it looks. You got to test everything. You got to look and relook and investigate every line of code that it brings back. And that's why I say if I was mentoring a junior developer, I would not let them use any AI. Or if they did use any AI, I would tell them to run all the code by me first, so that I could show them how it messes up and what to look for and what pitfalls to do. Because it just, it's confidently wrong far too often. far too often. Sorry I had to step away. I've been in this for way too many years. OG Mixer partner, YouTube partner. Watch a lot of streaming sites. The servers evolve, not fail. I'm trying to make the right decisions, end up like the rest. The VODs are just an endless pit of storage waste. Oh yeah. Now, and I've been there. I was on Mixer, YouTube. I mean, all the things in between. Live Space, Moonbeam, all kinds of things. Yeah. Now, on the AI subject, if you don't know what you're doing, don't rely on it to do a serious task without at least researching or having some logical point of view to go with it. If you're going to use AI, bring it into an environment where you can custom prompt it and then study the way to prompt that particular AI. For certain ones, you have to specifically say, do not be a yes man until you have a double and triple checked your work and done web searches to confirm that you're actually correct. Yeah, exactly. It's also, we've been having lots of these little like tech talks at work where we're trying to wrap our heads around AI and prompting and the best way to prompt and all this stuff. And honestly, the way I look at it is, it's Stack Overflow without the reliability of a human who's actually trying to farm karma. Like, the thing about Stack Overflow was, you would occasionally come across things on there that don't make any sense, but those would quickly get voted down. So there was a built-in structure for people to want to actually give you good advice after they berate you for doing something the way that they think you should do it. And so the things that filtered up to the top were actually correct in their implementation. AI doesn't have those limitations. AI doesn't know what is actually correct. It knows what is statistically likely, but it doesn't know that what is correct. And that's the thing. I try to drive that point home to everyone I can, is that AI is not thinking. There's no thinking going on there. It is a Dungeons and Dragons dungeon master sitting behind a panel rolling a whole bunch of dice. It's just picking the statistically most likely answer to your question based on its training. And there's a built-in fallacy from the beginning, which is that the statistically likely answer is the correct answer, and that's not always the case. And I think a lot of these AI companies realize that, and they've put a lot of fuzzy logic in there to try to make it, we'll take the second most, statistically likely answer to your question, kind of thing, to try to account for that. And it's just, it's like the worst kind of whisper down the lane, right? It's what it comes down to. Have you done anything with Minecraft, like making mods? I debated making mods for Minecraft. I was playing around at one point with this was years and years ago. I was playing around with there was some kind. It was like there was some kind of Forge. That's what it was called. I was trying to think of the name of it, like Minecraft Forge, which is like the framework they had, the community framework that was put into place to enable a lot of mods to work. I was playing around with that a little bit, but I didn't really have a good idea for a mod, and honestly, it just as much as I enjoyed Minecraft, it wasn't. It wasn't really the thing that I enjoyed the most, I guess. Like, I enjoyed it, but it had a shelf life in my brain for a little while there. So, Quad Code, CLI, with Brave, Search, NCP, Context 7, a few other tools could be a great tool. Absolutely great tool for pulling certain tiny bits of info from large documentation. Yes, we've been using a lot of Claude. Claude has been so far the more accurate of things. The problem I've run into with Claude, and what I often do is when I ask Claude to generate code, I will say, by the way, tell me what the latest version of the libraries are that you have been trained on, and also go look at the, make sure the code that you generate matches the documentation that's been published, and the API documentation that's been published for these libraries, which it sometimes does and it sometimes doesn't do, which is annoying. But yeah, the problem I often run into with them is, one of my big bugbears at work is that I try to make sure that we're not bleeding edge, but like one revision back from bleeding edge on a lot of stuff, on a lot of our libraries, because it has saved our bacon a couple times. Like, a lot of times there's security patches and stuff, but also it's saved us from having to pay support contracts and stuff like that, because we're in the free support tier, whereas other teams in the company aren't, and stuff like that. And I've always been a big fan of, big proponent of, every release, part of the technical debt of every release is to, every time we start a new release cycle, is to look at the libraries and see where we can update and keep them going. And the downfall of that is, now that we're being strongly encouraged to use AI, is that a lot of the AI stuff that's being generated, a lot of the code that's being generated, is going against older versions of libraries that we've already surpassed. So a lot of times it'll suggest things that existed in the earlier version that no longer exist, or are done differently now. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. AI is just no different than when I did voice setup. That made it sound like I was talking to another real person, a fancy programming trick I did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's... And we got to be clear here, too. We're talking generative AI, because I'm seeing a lot of, AI has become such a big hype thing now, that a lot of stuff that's being called AI is stuff that's existed for decades. It's like, that AI is the AI that's been around for a decade or more is usually okay AI, like voice recognition and stuff like that. I'm more the where I start getting a little bit annoyed is with the LLMs and the generative AI stuff, because that's where we start getting into hallucinations and just some really nasty stuff that if you're not careful could be devastating to a company. Like I don't like Microsoft has relied so heavily on AI. They even came out and said they've relied so heavily on AI in Windows 11 that they've broken a ton of stuff in Windows 11, and they're not sure how to fix it. It's like geez Louise, guys. Like we gotta be on top of this stuff. As a singer-songwriter, I have some opinions on a generative front that I won't get into. Yeah, and I know I have some artist buddies too and stuff that I totally see all that. I totally understand from that perspective. I think there's I think and it's such a there's a lot of black and white there, but there's also some shades of gray that I like trying to navigate has been weird. Like for instance, the latest game Arc Raiders uses AI voices, but for filler content, but they were given permission by actual voice actors who recorded who recorded some of their voices to then let that generate more of their voice. It's like, we're getting really mucky right now. We're getting into some real weird nonsense here, because on the one hand they gave permission, on the other hand the company is saving a crap ton of money by not having to bring them back into the studio, and all the people in the studio that they would have paid money for to rent out are not getting paid now, and all kinds of stuff. Right? It's like it's not just the voice actor who's out. It's everybody around them. It's all the supporting framework as well, and it's and then I watch a drummer who streams on Twitch, and he will drum, and he puts a lot of his clips up on YouTube, and most of the clips that he'll put on YouTube are him drumming to AI generated songs, where it's like AI takes an existing song and makes it sound like it's a blues song, like a metal song becomes a blues song kind of thing. And he does that mostly because it's the only way he'd be able to put something up on YouTube and not have it demonetized. And there's so many layers in there, because it's just like and I don't know. The problem on top of all that too is I don't know enough about any of it to really be commenting on it. But it's just there's so many of these things that are just very ugly. It's okay-ish if they approved it, sort of like Randy Travis getting to have his one more song thanks to voice cloning, train all his work to a similar vocal mesh recording in the studio. Sure. Although I would argue that that was still studio produced, right? So there were still a lot of people helping out with that. So I can kind of see that. It's when you start cutting out a lot of people in the process that I wonder where the line becomes then, you know. But it's, again, I don't know enough about that industry to do anything about it. I know that as far as coding is concerned, they're trying really, really hard to... They're treating this AI stuff almost like it's offshoring, but cheaper. Where they you know, there was a whole big offshoring craze in the early 2000s where companies were trying to save money by getting the cheapest labor they could find overseas and having them write a bunch of code. And the problem with that was the return on investment ended up not being very high because all that code came back onshore, and then people onshore had to then rework it and fix it because the quality wasn't there. With the AI stuff, again, quality is not necessarily there, and companies are trying to save a bunch of money, but they're going to find out the return on investment just isn't there right now. And so it's like we keep hearing how we're not going to have, we're going to be, AI is going to put us out of a job and stuff. And I'm like, nah, not this crop of AI. Eventually, maybe, but they would have to have a huge revolution as far as like in how AI works, to do it. AI mastering has saved me hours of songs. I don't plan on doing anything big with. And again, that's. I feel like that's maybe different too, because you're taking a product of. You're taking your own product and then kind of making it, trying to enhance it. So, but again, it's like. I'm sure there's plenty of people who would draw the line there even, so I don't, it's, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you look at what I do, like if I do anything with agentic tools, like having AI generate blocks of code, I will write the code myself. I will not copy it over and let it do it itself. Like I will copy it line by line manually. Write it line by line manually, not copy it. Because I trust it so little. And that helps me to make sure that things are making sense. But as far as like code completion, like, hey, I'm starting to type a line of code and it completes it for you. That seems to be, not only is that more accurate, but it seems to be, that seems more acceptable. But it's like, even that's kind of splitting hairs. And then I'm sure there's people that be like, there should not be any AI at all, not even the code complete AI. And it's like, well, that's, that's a tough one. It's a tough one. See where it's supposed to, where you fall in that, in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, I don't know. It's all I keep saying is, when the bubble bursts, it's gonna be ugly. It's going to be real ugly. I don't know who's going to survive it in terms of what company's going to survive it. But undoubtedly there's going to be a lot of people who are very talented people who are going to end up losing their jobs through no fault of their own, because some uppity up in some company was afraid of being left behind and pushed hard on something that they were being told the whole way along was not a good idea. And that's one of those situations where I told you so just is not satisfying at all. So what I'm seeing here, I don't think I need to change anything. Because I'm just going to pass these in as is. And I'm going to save all the indexes and the vertices in the darn JSON file, because that makes the most sense. If we're going to do it at all, do it right. I mean, I'm still not sure why they're even bothering to do that, but I think that's the way I'm going to go with it. So I think we're okay here. The model cache. That's what it's looking like. Yeah. I'll just have to load up the things. Okay. So, model cache is okay. Render is the next one. So what did they add? They added materials cache and texture cache, which we haven't gotten to texture cache yet. We're getting there next. So render. Renderer. So we need the material cache. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure on that one. Let's see their renderer up here. There's chapter 8 render. I have the wrong render open there. Materials cache. Just have it in there. They have the texture cache and then the materials cache after the models cache. Okay. So this dot. Okay. We got it in cleanup. Texture cache, materials cache. All right, then init models. materials. Texture. So I'm going to make these separate. I'm going to say like void init materials. Okay, and material cache. Materials device. What else do I have to pass in here? Device, materials, texture cache, pool. Okay, device. Materials, texture cache, command pools. Command pools 0. And Q. Graphics Q. Okay. Okay. And then you have the texture cache. So that just takes command pools, graphics queue. Okay. So I'll put this as a to-do, finish this. Once I see what that's gonna look like, because I don't know if I'm not gonna call it transition text, but we'll see what flushes out of it. Scene render load materials. Put that to do scene render load materials call. Ooh, frig. Render's calling. Wait. Oh, that's fine. Alright, what else changed here? Scene render, materials cache goes in there. And resize. So resize takes more stuff now. Alright, so that'll just flush out when that'll pop up as an error there. And so will this one. Once we do a scene render, both of those will pop up as errors, so that'll be fine. And that's it there, it looks like. Alright, so texture cache is all brand new. So let's get that here. Okay, what are we doing? Max textures 100. Texture map. Add texture. Okay. So basically pretty much the same as the material cache. There's that thing where I did the get position, because they have that here, right? Yeah. Yeah, okay. It's just that line there. Materials. What does get as listed on? Texture map values, okay. Okay. Did I actually use this somewhere? One result. Huh, they do. Interesting. Alright. Get as lists. Get texture. I mean, why not just expose the texture map at that point? Might as well just expose the map at that point. Why not? Alright, texture cache. So let's go here and we'll say new Java class texture cache. Okay. We'll say static final logger. Logger texture cache class. Boom. Public static final int max textures. Final map. Bring. What are they putting in there? Oof. Oh, here it is here. String texture. Texture? Yeah, okay. Okay. String, texture, which I don't think we have yet. Go. That's fine. And let me see what I got here. Texture map there. All right. Oh, legs are hurting me right now. Okay, I need to stand up for a moment and stretch my legs. So I'm gonna take a break for like 2 minutes or so. Trying to stretch my legs here. Yeah, I'm gonna take a break for like 2 minutes, and I will be right. Why is that so far off? Is that also the same? Man. I don't know why the camera feels like it's off here. Because that's not the chair there. Well, that'll have to do. Yeah, anyway, I gotta stand up and stretch, and I'll be right back, my friends. Enjoy the music, hopefully. Okay, I'm back. Alright, that was good. A good stretch. I just realized too while I was stretching that this can't be a hash map. This has to be a linked hash map because it needs to have a predictable order. Just realized that. Cool. And that's also thinking about that also made me realize that get as list is probably actually a good idea. So probably do that. Yeah. So there we go. So we got that. I think. So that's set. So I don't need the constructor. Public. I wonder why they are returning. A Vulcan texture there. Oh, because they're building a texture based off of the image source and stuff. Huh. I guess that's fine. That's fine. I don't usually like to do two different things at once there, but in this case, it's probably okay. I mean, honestly, if it were up to me, just load up the Vulcan texture and not the image source, but I think it'll be fine this way. There's no, I don't think there's any additional processing that's happening. So, add texture. I'm guessing this is going to be logical device, probably. String ID, image, source. Oops. Format there. Okay. If texture map. Oops. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I see what's going on. It's not giving me the stuff because it's got an error. So, size is greater than max textures. Texture limit reached. Go. A little bit better, and saying oh, I see what they're doing there. There's a better way of doing this now. Vulcan texture. Actually, I don't even need to do that. I can say return texture map dot get ID Crap. Let's get this working. Let's get Vulkan texture done here. This is it's driving me nuts right now. Java class Vulkan texture. Do that. Yeah, what do we got? Private. Do I have any? Is this just a Pojo? No, there's actual stuff going on here. Okay, private static. Final. Logger. Private final int, whoops, height, is this another class that they've made? It is. Alright. Oh, I have a Vulkan image. Okay. Image view. I hate what they put it in a weird order here. Put height and width together. Private Vulkan buffer, staging buffer. Okay. Architecture. Right. So I'm guessing this is going to be logical device. Source. Record transition starts out as false. Width equals source.width, source.height, create staging buffer, a minute here, var image data. This new image Vulkan image. Image view data. What the hell? Oh, that's right. They're passing the image data into there. It's okay. So device with height, and then usage and image format. Okay, usage is VK13, VK image usage transfer source bit board with VK13 image usage transfer destination bit board with VK13 image usage sampled bit and line by itself, and then the next thing is format is image format, right? Image format. Okay, this is just image. Image view data. So we're doing var image view new Vulkan image view. All right, and that is image pointer and image data. So device image dot get ID image data. So var image data equals new Vulkan image view data, which doesn't take anything. Now we're saying image data dot set aspect mask to VK13, VK image aspect color bit, set format image dot get format. So all we're saying is the aspect mask and the format on it. Okay. Depth image false. Is that's something new? Depth image. It is something new. Alright, let's do that real fast. So depth image. Okay. What else was added in here? We have depth image. Aspect mask was added in here.
The last Metroid is in captivity.
Vulkan image view data.
The galaxy is at peace.
Oh, that's right. But aspect masks were already passing in, right? Yeah, and it's not used again, so there was no reason to keep that around. I mean, there's a get aspect mask, but they don't even call it. There's a get MIP levels, and they don't even call it. So until they call it, I'm not going to keep those around. They do have the is depth image, though. So I'll put that down here. Getter for depth image. Boom. Okay. Did I use it for anything? No, they just return it. For now. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. So I've got far afield here, but we're having to do it. Alright, so then this is the depth image is false here. There we go. And oh, they're setting those to image and image view. Oh, okay. So not var image. This dot image. View. There we go. Okay. And then there's a cleanup. Staging buffer. All right, so public void cleanup. Image view cleanup. Image dot cleanup device, and then we have a void cleanup staging buffer. If staging buffer does not equal null, then staging buffer dot cleanup set it to null. All right, do that up here. Cleanup staging buffer. Okay. Now we're creating the staging buffer, which is a private. Logical device. Oops. Byte buffer. Size is data dot remaining. This dot staging buffer equals new Vulkan buffer device. Size VK13 VK buffer. Usage transfer source bit. There we go. That one. And the mask is VK13. Memory property hosts visible bit board with memory property host coherent bits. Alright. And that memory is staging buffer map byte buffer till mem byte buffer. That's memory. It's staging buffer. Requested size. Buff.put. Oops. Put the data in there. That flip. Staging buffer. Unmap. There we go. Alright. So that's all they did there. So we have call create staging buffer. So device and source dot data. Okay. Record copy buffer. Record texture transition. Okay. So we're saying here private void record copy buffer stack command buffer welcome buffer data. Okay. PK buffer image copy dot buffer. PK buffer image copy. Call it one stack buffer offset of 0 for row length of 0 buffer image height 0 image sub resource aspect mask VK13 VK image aspect color bits nip level 0 base array layer is 0 layer count is 1 and that's it there. Okay, and then image offset XYZ is 0. And image extent is width is width, height is height, and depth is 1. And that's it there. VK 13 VK command copy buffer to image. VK command buffer. Get command buffer. Okay. Data get buffer. Image get ID 13 VK image layout transfer destination optimal and region. Okay, so that records the copy buffer. And then record the texture transition. Public void. Record texture transition. And this is what's calling the record copy buffer. Okay. If staging buffer does not equal null and record transition is false, transition is true. Stack push. So Vulkan utils image. Oh, I don't have the image barrier in there. Oh wait, did I do it? I didn't do it in Vulkan utils. I did it in. I bet I did it in structure. Yes, image barrier, stack, command buffer, image get ID, 13 VK image layout undefined, image layout transfer. Destination optimal. Pipeline stage top of top of pipe bit 15 EK pipeline stage transfer bit. Okay, access to none. Okay, access transfer right bit. Image aspect color bit. Okay. Cool, and then record copy buffer Why are we passing staging buffer in there? Everything's meant to be... Yeah, whatever. Everything's meant to be taken from the staging buffer, then that's just... Well, I guess they're passing it in there so they don't have to check for a null, I guess. I mean, sure. I mean, sure. Structure utils. Image barrier. Stack. Command buffer. Image dot get ID. Okay, 13 VK. Image layout transfer. Station optimal. Image layout shader read only optimal. Stage transfer bits. 13 VK pipeline stage fragment shader bits. Access transfer write bits. Access shader read bits. Image aspect color bits. Okay. Station. I got everything there. And then that's the end of the method except for some getters. I skipped over. Get height, ID, image view, width. So, getter, ID, image view, height, width. Okay. So that's good. So we can import that now. Because that's now a thing. Class. Those are both in here, right? Yeah. Okay. So then init texture. So then that is texture. Which gets us back to the texture cache, right? Yeah, so I gotta get back to texture cache here. Texture map, add texture. Yeah, okay, so doing texture map, get ID. Oh. Oh, it's the texture map, get or defaults. It's not going to put it into the map though if I do that. Alright, because that's... Okay, so I guess I gotta do... I thought there was more stuff there, but... Get or default works, but... Let's do it the right way. If texture map contains key, then return texture map gets ID. Otherwise, texture map. So I'll do yeah. Texture map the put ID and then new Vulkan texture ID source format return texture map get that. Alright. We'll do it that way. I guess technically I could just create the Vulkan texture and then just return that, but that would be better than doing another lookup. Alright. One way or the other. That works. Okay. That's that add texture, and then there's an add texture with a string texture path. Okay, so that's adding up. That's adding in, or that's loading up a actual texture here. And texture path. Format. Okay, and then trying to, okay, source equals GraphQL's load image. Okay. That's just calling add texture to results. Image data. Okay, I see. Results equals add texture, device, ID, source format. Catch, IO exception. Does not load texture file. S formatted texture path, and then pass exception along. All right, and then finally, if source does not equal null, to do clean image. Turn. Whoops. Texture there. I'll do the cleanup and stuff right now. Public void cleanup. Device. And just do. Yeah, pretty much that. And map clear. Alright, public. Texture get as lists. Import that list class. Okay, and return list of that not take that? What does this bring back? Collection. Forms to Vulkan texture. Surprised that doesn't. I can do copy of, which might be more correct. Just copy of texture map values. All right, and then public int get position. And that one is just What did I do with the other one? Material. Yeah, list copy of key set index of ID. Yeah. Texture map key sets index of ID. There you go. Oh, excuse me. Oof. Ah. Texture path trim. Huh. Okay. Public, Vulkan texture, get texture. Why would you get it by texture path? You're not putting them in there by texture path, you're putting them in there by ID. Did I miss something here? No, you're putting them in by ID. So why would you do a get texture? This isn't, it's not even called. Well, it's good it's not called because it's not correct. They're taking texture path in here when it's really the ID, which, yeah. I mean, that's just misleading. I mean, this would work if you gave it the ID, but not the texture path. And they're not calling it anyway, so screw that. Transition textures, okay. Really should just be. See, that's a bad name for that method. Just do public void record texture transitions. Device, man pool, device queue. All right. Number of textures is less than max textures. Okay. So they're putting padding in there. Okay. So it's number of textures equals texture map size. If number of textures is less than max textures, then it's padding equals max textures minus number of textures. Let's say padding count. String default texture path. Oh. Default texture path. Okay. Default texture path. Okay, so it's just grabbing full texture path there. I don't. What is the point of that? It's loading the image from. Oh, okay. So load image. So it's loading. So it's the base texture path, I guess. Okay. See, it should say that. It should say that as the base texture path, not the full path. So let's do Control Shift R. No. Control Shift G. What is the refactoring? Control Alt R. Oh, damn it! What? How do you refactor? what is the thing for it? Alt Shift R. I knew it was something like that. Okay, Alt Shift R. There we go. So base texture path. There we go. Okay, and then this is just angry because it doesn't detect that I'm throwing an IO exception there, but it will be. Padding count, so this is. I'm just gonna put a base texture path in here. Use that. Okay, so that what are we doing? Number of padding. What's the number of padding? Or padding count, I guess. Well, why would you do that? So they're just using number of padding. What? Going from 0 to number of padding texts -1. Are they trying to add textures here that are just padding? Because padding text would be max texture, should be 100 minus the number of textures left, so it's just the padding. So they're just adding throwaway textures? Like what? Load image texture path. Does that? It's file name. I mean, that's expecting a file name. That's expecting a proper file. I don't understand why they're adding in textures for padding, which I can kind of get, but then they're just giving it this default texture path. Which is what? Property get property default texture path. What is that set to? Default texture path. Resources models default PNG. So it is, it's just a padding texture. Okay. So this is just adding texture path. Okay. And then all we're doing is just adding that in X number of times. So for I is 0, I is less than, adding count, I plus plus, add texture, device, UID, random UID. String, adding texture path, VK13, VK format R8, R8, G8, B8, A8, sRGB. There you go. And then our command buffer equals new command buffer device command pool true and true. And buffer begin recording. Alright. Texture map. Each. Transit to position command buffer. Command buffer. That end recording. Submit wait. Clean up. And then pool here. Is that what I need? Yeah, command pool. And texture map for each. Clean up staging buffer there on those. Logger, debug. So that's the end of that. The only thing we're missing is the clean image data and the load image, which are utilities. Might as well do that right now. Load image file. Okay. That's fine. I don't mind a, oh, I have a graphics utils. Oh, I do have a graphics utils. Thought this was new. Source image. Okay, never mind. I already have it. I already have it. So we just do source equals utils load image. This is not really base texture path then. This is actually texture path. Change again. Okay. Load image, texture path. So we have that, and then clean image data. Oops. The image data source. All right, so that is now done. Local variable pack. Yeah, I know it's redundant. I know. I know it's redundant. For now, it's redundant. Okay. So I think the texture cache is done. So where does that leave us? Vulkan material we have. Vulkan mesh we don't use. Though they added the material ID to it, which I guess we have to add to Vulcan material. Oh wait, that's added to Vulcan mesh, which I think I have here. Yeah, I had this material VID. I think they just meant material ID. I don't have a material ID in here. Alright, we'll add one. So, string material ID. There we go. I don't know if I need one, but we'll add one there. Alright, so I think we're done with the craft folder. Just have scene render, modifications, and make, which don't seem too terrible. Under here, we've got depth attachment stuff. This is where we got to get into descriptor set stuff. Which is going to take a little while. That's going to be, because these are big classes. Those are relatively big classes, so I'll probably have some things I'll want to change in there. Image source, I don't even use, I don't think. Image view. I added the depth image to there, so we don't have to. I guess all I have to add is depth image. Did I do that image view? Vulcan image view. Depth image is definitely, yeah, I added those. So that's not bad. So that's already done. And we got all the pipeline stuff, which is also significant. Swap chain doesn't have much of a change to it. Texture, I've already done. So I've got Vulcan texture done. Texture sampler. What is the next thing I want to do? That's not too bad. Sampler info. And this I don't use, but we'll have to make sure that's cleaned up and everything. Utilities, copy matrix to buffer. I don't think I've done that yet. What is this? We can do that real fast now, maybe. Save us a thing later. Create host visible buffer. Matrix buffer. Oh, well, this requires the descriptor set and stuff. So I guess we'll hold off on it then. For now. And we have this whole, they've got a whole other program here. The main method, main entry to process all the textures and stuff. I'm definitely going to have this, but I'm not going to, I'll put a main method on it, but I'm going to mostly call it from inside my program rather than have it separately, I think. Oh, sorry, I don't think I've actually asked yet. What game are you building? Build something. So it'll likely be a space game. But I don't know much beyond that. Because there's a lot of stuff I have to learn. Like I have to learn how to do 3D modeling. I have to learn some basic music composition stuff. Even like a little bit of art crap, which I'm not going to be very good at, but I've got a lot of like Humble Bundle the last couple of months has been putting out all kinds of like game development resources. So I've been like for $35, like I've been getting like all kinds of stuff. So I have stuff to start with at least, you know, to play around with. But really, it's my goal is more to learn how to make the engine and stuff, and then making a game on top of it would be a bonus. Have a developer program API you're hoping to get out by January, February? Yeah. I've had stuff on the side too that I've been working on here and there. I've been wanting to get a streamer bot going. I got a ways to go on that though. Like at some point I do need to get back to sort of multitasking, like instead of just doing the game engine, doing like bots and stuff, because the bot that I'm trying to do, like I had it working at least initially with like being able to grab the YouTube chat and Twitch chat. None of the responses or anything like that, but where I got sort of stopped was I wanted to add in multi-streaming capability to the bot, to where you could multi-stream locally like I do now, but I do it through a weird combination of Windows subsystem for Linux and Nginx and all that stuff. So I was going to try to bring in, like, there's an FFmpeg library wrapper in Java that I was going to use to bring in FFmpeg and have it basically spin up a server that you would use locally that your OBS would connect to, and then you can from there send out your stream to multiple things. And then my hope was that I could, if I could figure it out, because I'd have control over FFmpeg, I could potentially make it so that your chat messages and stuff, if you wanted them to show up on stream, you could make them show up on individual streams on certain outputs and not on other outputs. So like Twitch restricts you from showing the chat messages from other platforms on your stream, so you might be able to exclude Twitch from showing the chat on the screen, but you could show chats on the screen for the other services. Not that anyone's going to enforce that rule, but that's another thing. So and I was also thinking like, oh, it might be cool to be able to do like clips across, you know, services and things like that. There, you know, a whole bunch of possibilities opens up there, but it's just it's hard for me to multitask with the programming stuff because I only do it 2 days out of the week, so I don't burn out. And I've been really focused on the game dev stuff here, so we'll see. I would like to switch back to that at some point, do a little bit more in there, and see if I can get FFmpeg working the way I want to. I tried to set up, like, I've got the Nginx RTMP plugin, and that's what I use for the multi-streaming to YouTube and Twitch and Valora. And I was trying to get the FFmpeg now supports whip, and I was trying to get the whip output to work with Valora, but it wasn't. I was just getting a 500 server error from it. So I was trying different ways of doing it, but I couldn't figure it out. So I just punted and said I'll just go through the RTMP for now until I can figure it out. What combination I need to do there. But the nice thing there is with YouTube, I'm sending a 1440p 60 stream to YouTube, and I'm just doing 1080p 60 everywhere else. So that's kind of nice, is that I can get. And the reason I'm putting 1440 out on YouTube is because you get a better, you get the VP9 encoder when you do 1440p by default. If you do anything less than that, you get the crappier encoder there, from what I understand. So we'll see. A deep love for StreamerBot because of custom code options, but most people find it too complicated. I'm looking into options for some sort of basic bot system in-house. Yeah, I've used StreamerBot a little bit. I think Tech has used StreamerBot too. It is definitely a developer's interface UI. It's definitely a UI that was written by a developer and not a UX designer. There's a lot of buttons, knobs, and switches everywhere. And I use that a little bit. The problem with it is it doesn't have some of the stuff that I like from, like, I'm using Mix It Up Bot. And Mix It Up is really nice, but it also is missing a lot of integrations, and it sometimes just doesn't work. Like, sometimes you run a command and it just doesn't run it, or sometimes a lot of times like, I have audio alerts for like certain events, and sometimes they just don't go off. It's kind of a hot mess sometimes. And I was using Caster Labs for a while too, but they have a server component that is just fragile as hell, where it just kind of like randomly during your stream, like, their bot just silently stops working and you don't even realize that it stopped working. It's just kind of, just trying to find an option out there that's halfway decent sometimes. Also, 2 days a week, what is that? Since end September, average day is 14 hours, long ones are 18 hours. All to get this out. Yeah, I get it. See, my problem is that since I code during the day for work, sometimes the last thing I want to do is do some more code at nighttime. And I have been in a situation before years ago where I burned out, and it was not fun because I had, like, it caused me some health issues and other things, and I've never fully recovered from it mentally. Like, I enjoy writing code, I enjoy creating things. I don't enjoy it as much as I did prior to burning out. I've never been able to, like, fully recapture that spark as it was. And so I'm hesitant to code more, to stream coding more days per week, because I'm afraid that I'm going to overdo it again. You know what I mean? So, you're housebound, disabled after CHF, so what else are you going to do? Either songwriting, designing things, or coding and building things. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it totally. And I ever since the COVID stuff, I work from home all the time. They shut down our office and then decided they just didn't need it anymore, that everybody could just work remotely, which has been fantastic. I love that. Just absolutely love it. So yeah, I'm sitting here all day usually. Although I do have a standing desk. This is a standing desk that moves up and So I do stand sometimes, and I've been thinking of during some of these streams standing too, because it does hurt quite a bit to sit here for extra time. Um, but yeah, it's the context switching and stuff, and just kind of like it's like I like to play games on stream just to kind of give my soul a break, give my brain a break a little bit, and just kind of like, you know, have some entertainment there and just sort of relax a little bit. So yeah, that's been kind of the weird thing. Like I did do like 1 week where I think I did every day, every night I coded, and that was fine, and I could do that occasionally. But yeah, it's like, it's also hard because you don't get a whole lot done. I mean, even if I was like in total focus mode and I wasn't really paying attention to chat or anything, um, there's still not a whole lot I'm going to get done in like 2 to 3 hours, right? Like there's only so much. So it's also nice from the perspective of being able to interact with people and chat too while I'm doing stuff, because it just kind of, it gives you a little bit of a break, and it also it helps me also get back into focus mode. That's always been that's the really difficult thing that I've been having the last couple of years, is like it's getting harder and harder to not only get into focus mode, but to stay in focus mode for a while. And I got all kinds of tricks I do, but it's like listening to music that has no words and stuff like that. But it's still like trying to do that consistently has been difficult, to say the least. Work from home would honestly be the ideal standard for any job where it's possible. Take some of these massive office buildings and repurpose them for better use. I agree. And I think, I mean, there's a lot of stuff where you, obviously there's a lot of work where you can't do that because you've got specialized tools and stuff that, you know, that you're using. But I think for the technology industry at least, like, really there's no reason to have any office buildings at all, because most of our stuff, you know, it's not like 2 decades ago where all the you need an office building to house your servers and stuff, you know. I mean, even then we used to just co-locate our servers, to most of them to a separate facility, right? Now it's like everything's cloud based, like everything's in AWS or what have you. So it's even less necessary to have an office complex for anything. And the amount of money like they could save, just, you know, they don't have to, you know, they don't need to buy printers, they don't need the fax machines, they don't need any of that crap, they don't need all the wiring build outs, they don't need cubicles, they don't need you know, phone systems, any of that stuff. Like, it all just goes away. But the problem largely has been middle management, I think. You've got a lot of middle managers who are whose ego is tied to the number of employees they have working under them. You know, And if they're not able to, they gain some kind of weird boost from sitting in their office and having people around them, and luckily I haven't had really any managers that were like that, but I think that's one of the things that have been driving a lot of this, return to office stuff, and also, all these companies have a ton of money spent on real estate that they've got leases they can't get out of, and there's a status symbol of having this big office complex. It's a weird amalgamation of things that just don't make a whole lot of sense until you just bring, ego into it, Even if we convert some of the massive office buildings for tech companies into efficiency studio apartments or into rooming spaces for super low income folks. Yeah. I think someone had looked at that too. Someone had did like a little bit of a write-up on what that would take. And unfortunately, a lot of those office complexes, the amount of work you would have to do to turn them into livable space is very expensive, almost to the point of like you're better off knocking the building down and starting over, because just from a plumbing perspective and stuff, and having all the remodeling you have to do just to get bathrooms and separate facilities and all that stuff, would be kind of rough. But I agree in principle that like we have all this infrastructure that is really a waste. There's economic things there too, like everybody working from home now. Suddenly, all the food trucks and all the restaurants around these office complexes and stuff would see a big drop off, and townships wouldn't be able to collect their local fees, whatever they're called, the local, there's a special name for it, local mileage tax or whatever it is, that they tend to charge for things. You're in West Texas, so everyone here is pretty much oil fields, so there's no work from home here. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, there's that. I mean, that's with industry and stuff, you can't get away from it, honestly. But I think a lot of the office work you probably really, really could, given where we're at now with video conferencing and all that stuff. But I don't know. We had something good going on there for quite a while, and I think there's still some holdouts. I think there's still some of that going on where quite a few companies realize, like, hey, this is actually, not only is this working out, but it's working out really well. Like our company went unlimited PTO, which sounds fantastic and very generous, but in reality, they know what they're doing, right? It's like when you give employees unlimited PTO, basically it's a psychological thing at that point, right? Where people, it's nice from the perspective of I can take a day off whenever I need it, but also I'm not taking nearly as many days off as I used to. Yeah. Because you're still responsible for, getting things done. And also, I'm working from home, so a lot of the stuff that I would normally take off from work for, stuff that, stuff has to get done around the house, or I'm getting something delivered, or, general, like, I just don't feel like jumping in the car today. I don't have to worry about. And it's also nice that, like, I can do the basic household chores on my break during the day, and then my weekends are free. I don't have to rush around on the weekend to do all this stuff that I couldn't do because I was in the office, So it's a trade-off. Yeah, you're already at home for it. Yeah, exactly. Right? So it's like okay, I'll kick off this compile, and while that's going, I'll put a load of laundry in. It works out pretty well. It works out really well. Like it feels so good to just have your weekends back. Just where, because that was always the thing. Like, you figure, oh, okay, I don't have, it's Saturday, I don't have to go into work. I could, But then you're like, oh, all this stuff hasn't gotten done because there's been no one home to do it. So it's like you're rushing around. You're trying to relax, but you're also doing a whole bunch of crap around the house. Whereas at least you can do some of the maintenance stuff during the week here and there, some of the small stuff. And then you don't have to deal with it quite as much. The weekends can actually be for relaxing for a change. But yeah, that's kind of where it's at. I mean, I really like the working from home, but I know I have some colleagues who would rather be back in the office, and I get it. It can be it really depends. I feel like it depends on how much you sort of play off of other people, like how energized you are by being around other people. So I can get it. I get no energy off of other people, so not having to stress out about sitting in a cubicle surrounded by people has been a great thing indeed. Well, anyway, friends, it's 12:30 at night for me, and I'm going to stop right here. So we got a couple things to do tomorrow. We're gonna pick this up tomorrow night, and probably get through a bunch more stuff, and see how far we go. There's a whole big chunk, as I said, of things in this chapter. This chapter is like probably one of the bigger ones with the modeling and texturing and stuff. So we've already been through it kind of once, but now coming through it again. So we'll see how far we get tomorrow then. Try not to pull another 3 to 4 a.m. Yeah, no, I hear you. See, my problem is that I'm a night owl. Mornings are not my thing. They never have been my thing. Much to the chagrin of my dad, who was very much a morning person. And he's like, we gotta get up, we gotta do all this, we gotta do that. And I'm like, doing? I'm rolling out of bed at 11:30 as a kid on a Saturday, and he's like, "What? When you do all this stuff, and it's 11:30 already." It's like, I'll get to it. That was a thing. He liked to be completely done everything by noon, so he could have his entire day to just kind of sit in his chair and watch the game or something. I was like, well, I understand where you're coming from, but I also understand that there's 24 hours in a day, and I intend on using the vast majority of them. I don't intend on getting up at 6 o'clock every day on the weekends just to get things done before noon. Your mother loved her mornings. So it was her alone time. Yeah, she'd get up at 4 a.m. to have alone time before the rest of us got up. Yeah. My dad, he had to go. He didn't like to drive. He knew how to drive. He had a license, but he didn't like driving. So in order to get into work in the morning, he had to get up at 3 in the morning to catch the first bus, which was like 3:30, 4 a.m., something like that, to catch the bus to get to the Market Frankfurt L, and then take the L, and then take another bus to get out to the suburbs, so he could get to his job. So he could get to his job by 6:30 or something like that, because I think he had to be there by, I think 7 was when he started, but he tried to get there early. So I think he would get there by like 6:37 or something like that. And yeah, that was so he was just in that mindset of just like get up early, get all kinds of stuff done, and he would do the same thing at work. He would get all his work done by noon so that he could so that in the afternoon he was just bored. It's like, well, what do you do in the afternoon? Well, I just find stuff to do. I'm just bored and stuff. I was like, okay, you could, I don't know, stretch things out a little bit. It does not sound pleasant. He was built different. It's just like he could pull that stuff off, and he did it for so long, like decades, that that was just his thing. I think it may have ultimately caused long-term damage, because I don't think he was sleeping. Like, he never quite slept well. So I often wonder if that kind of was like a long-term damage that maybe led to some of his dementia later on in life. But there's many different things that can cause that, so that's a hard one to pin down. But I feel like I would like to be bored for just one afternoon from lunchtime. A couple hours to be working on something. Yeah. Now I get it. That's the funny thing, is like that's kind of the. I wonder if that's not just because of the nature of the work. Like, if it was physical, like, I could understand him wanting to get everything done because he was doing mostly manual labor, physical work. And I often wonder if that's the difference. Like, when you're going to do all this heavy lifting and stuff, you just want to get it done early while you're still have energy, so you can kind of recover from it for the rest of the day. Whereas in my line of work, I'm not, the heaviest lifting I do is pushing a pen. right? I'm just mostly using my mind, and so it's kind of like spreading it out across the day doesn't phase me quite as much, I guess. Like I'm not in a rush to get everything done in the morning because, like you said, I'll just be bored in the afternoon. I'd be looking for something else to do. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the nature of the work or what. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah. Okay. Let's wrap it up there. We'll come back to this, like I said, tomorrow night. Let me commit what I've got so far, just so that it does not get lost in the shuffle here anywhere. Commit. Still in chapter 8. Okay. So that's done. Alright. So, you too. You have a good one as well. That is it for me for tonight, my friends. If you happen to be coming across this on the YouTubes, either live or in VOD form, and you have a like and or a subscribe that you can spare and maybe toss my way, that would be really swell and awesome. It helps out tremendously, and I appreciate it greatly. Trying to get to eventually to 1,000 subscribers, but we got a long way to go before we get there. 500 is the first goal, and then 1,000. So that would be really great. Otherwise, my friends, for everyone else, thank you so much for watching. Hope everyone has an excellent morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on what it is for you. And I hope to see you back here again in the future for some more stuff, whatever happens to suit your fancy. Until then, see you bye.
Phrasing?